Hello and welcome to Toastmasters in the Community. I'm your host, Fran Okeson. Sitting with me is Lucy Kahn, who just
Hi.
got elected as our club secretary for the No Limits
Thank
Club.
you.
First time you've been secretary in this club. I guess you've been a lot of secretaries other
Yeah.
places, right, Lucy? Okay, I'd
Right.
like to thank our audience for coming. After the storm that we had last night on Staten Island, I was concerned about getting here today and staying dry while we came. So let's just move ahead. It's a beautiful day outside, and I hope you all enjoy the show. If there's anything that you would like to talk about with me about the show, you'll find at the end of the show we have the credits, and my email and my telephone number is there, and we'll go with that. I always respond to my emails. I prefer email. So we're going on to the first speech. I usually take the first spot, and I'm doing a speech called The Briefing, and I'm supposed to try to persuade my audience in a very short time on doing whatever I'm going to talk about. So my speech title is Success Begins with the First Speech. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we all know that death, taxes, and public speaking, the three worst fears that people have: death, taxes, and public speaking. I'm getting close to the first one. I pay my taxes on time, and I'm almost 29 years as public speaking, so I guess death is the one that's scaring me the most at this point in my life. However, you can laugh if you want to. We all have to go that way. All right. How did I get involved with public speaking? Well, let me tell you. When I was in college, they offered in your public speaking class or speech class, if you got a high enough grade on your end year report card, you did not have to take the second course in speech. I worked very, very hard when I was in college. I didn't want to take speech for the second course, so I aced it, and I got away with just the one course in speech. Then what happened? I formed the Women's Club of Tottenville many years ago, and we decided to do community service. And one year I decided to honor, I think that year it was Joe Bedell, one of the local funeral directors in Tottenville, with a testimonial dinner. And I had all the plans. Oh, we invited his mother, who moved upstate with her daughter because she was about my age is now. And Joe was a very good community man, bought uniforms for the local ball fields, was a great, great man. Everybody really appreciated his service to the community. And then I went to the Beachcomber, and I made arrangements for the party, and I realized, oh my goodness, I have to do speaking here. It wasn't just honoring a friend of mine, it was, But then somebody told me about Richmond County Toastmasters and Sister Alma Wedge, who was a sister of charity for many years, and I finally had a chance to meet her, and I joined Richmond County Toastmasters in 1988. That changed my life, because through Toastmasters, I found a whole new world, and this is what I'd like to talk to you about. If you are, whatever age you are, you have to be 18 years old to join Toastmasters. All our clubs on Staten Island, we're Area 64, all of our clubs need members to function properly. Our clubs always have to grow every year. Our year starts from July 1st to June 30th of the following year. You don't have to be afraid of coming to a meeting. You can come and observe. I'm the PR for 5 of the 6 clubs, and this is what we do. We put notices in the advance. If people get in touch with us, we invite them to meetings. We give basic speeches. If you continue to watch our show on the first Saturday of the month on Channel 35, you'll see that we have some of the same people. Most of them are members of No Limits Club, but I invite people from the other clubs to come and speak. You'll see some people today from other clubs. After the first book of 10 speeches is finished, you get 2 free advance manuals from Toastmasters International. Each manual has 5 speeches, and there's entertaining, there's communicating on video. All of these things come to you in a package. There are 15 advanced manuals to suit anybody's palate. When you finish your basic manual, and every manual you finish after that, you get a beautiful certificate suitable for framing. And the story goes on and on and on, and I feel that that's enough to whet your appetite. And my evaluator is supposed to, as part of the speech, ask me maybe 1 or 2 very quick questions about what he heard to persuade you to get in touch with us. Come and observe a Toastmasters meeting. See if it meets your needs. Ken Raftery, you're my evaluator.
Yes, friend. So your title today spoke about it all starts with the first speech. So what would you say in general if a person at home is thinking, I don't know what I talk about for my first speech? What would you recommend as the best way of going
if they get in
about
touch with me, sometimes we like to just, I feel them out a little bit, all right? And you can usually get to know about a person by your telephone call with them. Best thing to do is get them in the room, let them hear what's going on in the room. Table topics is a very good spot to ask people after the table topics are finished, would you like a question? Would you like to respond to one of the questions that one of our members did? Because multiple people will answer them differently. So it's like just getting them to have the courage enough to stand up and respond. And then they can go home and then they can think about it. Do you have a second question? I'm watching the lights and you do have time.
Maybe you could just explain to them what the topic of this first speech in the manual is.
Well, that's the icebreaker, where it's a 4 to 6 minute speech where you're supposed to introduce yourself to the members of the meeting that are there. You can't get your whole life into that 4 to 6 minutes. People have tried, and it's a race that gets you nowhere. So it's just, I'd like to know, do you live on Staten Island? If you moved, we have a lot of people who come from other countries. If you have an accent, you've come from another part of the world, don't let that stop you from joining a club. I'll tell you, we have so many people from far-on lands, and we can learn from these people. They bring their memories to the United States when they come. They don't lose them. We have had more fun with Lucy Khan from the Philippines. She makes me laugh every time I hear her with some of her speeches and some of the things that happened to her along the way, which you'll find out when she speaks a little bit more. But we learn from each other, and that's the greatest part of it. Thank you very much, Ken. We'll see how you like my see how I'll like your evaluation in a little while. Thank you very much, Ken. People in the audience, you can clap, you know. All right, I guess that starts with me. All right. Lucy, you're the second one today. I put you there because I know you have a very important engagement as soon as the show is over.
Okay.
And I guess you didn't bring your helicopter to get you there, so we'll have the show get it. Lucy, you're doing number 4 in the Storytelling Advanced Manual. This is called The Touching Story. And that's because we're at the beginning of May, and May is, in the beginning, it's Mother's Day. At the end, it's Memorial Day. So you have the full 7 minutes, which you requested, and Kevin Thompson is going to be your evaluator. I think he probably had a mother. And your title is My Mother, Maria. Let's all welcome Lucy Khan, and let's all hear how that wonderful woman made this wonderful human being. Lucy, welcome.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, guests and honored guests and viewing audience. Whenever I heard the name Maria, I always remember my mother. She was a very beautiful woman, but I think because it's my mother, and she was petite, and she was always lovely and making sure that all of us are well-fed and well-dressed and went to school, on a nice school. So when I was in kindergarten, she got me a nice dress and everything, and she told me, like, I want you to be dressed every day. So every day I have to have a nice dress with a matching ribbon on my hair and a nice socks and black shoes. Then I said, can I go out to play? And she said, no. I said, why not? So she said, well, you look like a doll. You look like a princess. I don't want you to be going outside and dirty your dress. So I said, but I like to play. So one day I went out and I played with the other girls and the little kids. And I came home. I was all dirty with my dress and everything. And she was mad at me. She said, I told you not to do that. So I said, okay. So the next day she dressed me again. And I said, can I just walk around downstairs while they're playing the kids? I don't want to ruin my dress. I said, okay, look, you can do that. So I went around, and there was a studio next door. And it was like the guy said, oh, you look nice. Why don't you come over and take a picture of you? So they take a picture of me, and they put it in a portrait. And my mother was like, how did that happen? I said, well, somebody took me and told me, so, oh, I don't want you to do that. You don't want to be a star. I said, well, they had a picture of me, and they put some kind of like an advertisement for their studio to get people coming in. So they were so nice that they said, oh, can you just come here and be part of the picture? We have some people, like they have like newlywed, and they like a little girl with them. So I said, okay, so I will be pictured with other people's pictures. I'll be there with them. So then she told me, like, okay, I wanted you to make sure that you have a good study hard. So I have to study hard. And she always gave me something. Like I have my walking doll. She gave me all the gifts that I need. And then I remember that my father was very strict. He always tells us that we have to have breakfast early, around 6 o'clock, lunch at 12 o'clock, and dinner at 6 o'clock. So at 6 o'clock, I said to my mother, like, oh, I cannot come. So she said, oh, if you don't come at 6 o'clock, your father will be mad, and you have no food. I said, but I cannot. So she said, don't worry. She's always helping me, and she's always there for me. So she said, don't worry, I'll save some food for you. So I said, oh, that's nice. So I will be going around. And then one day, my girlfriend came, and then when I was a teenager, my girlfriend came, and she said, let's go to a jump session. I said, what is a jump session? So she said, oh, you'll go there and dance. So I said, well, my father doesn't want me to go. But my mother said, yeah, you can go. And then my father said, where are you going? So my girlfriend said, we're going to a birthday party. So a birthday party, so my father said, okay, you can go. So I went, we went dancing and everything, and my father said, you have to be home by 12 or 11 o'clock. But then my friend said, oh, you have to be here. I said, it's 11 o'clock, I want to go home. And he said, no, it's only 10 o'clock. They twisted the clock to 11 o'clock instead of to 10 o'clock instead of 11 o'clock. So I was there for midnight. My father was so mad, he went around looking for me, and he has a big stick that he's going to catch me and everything, but then he could not find me. So he went back to the house, and then around 12:30 I came home, I tiptoed, and I opened the door. It was still, as soon as I put the lights on, I yelled because he was there sitting on the big chair. So he also yelled. And I said, oh my gosh. I said, you scared me. I said, you scared me too. So he said, I don't want you to know. Where did you go? I said, I went to a birthday party. That's not a birthday party. It's already 12:30. It's all. Then I got punished for 2 weeks. I cannot go anywhere for 2 weeks. And when he goes out for travel, my mother said, hey, you can. I said, Mom, I'm punished for 2 weeks. Oh, you can go as long as you don't tell your father. So she was always there helping me and everything. And then I said, like, oh my God, I don't believe this. And then one day she wanted me to go out, and we went. And then she came home, and my father was still there. And my father said, where did you go? So she said, oh, we went out and eat and everything. Then he said, how come your other brothers didn't go? So I said, well, they were not here. My mother is always there for me, and she helps me, and she teaches me how to do some sewing. She teaches me how to do embroidery and also crochet. So I did a crochet. I crocheted something, and I said, how long would this take you? So I said, I'm going to crochet there for like a bed sheet. But then after that, it takes me three months, and it's still, I said, okay, we can have it into a tablecloth. So we went up from a bed sheet to a tablecloth to finish my crochet. And then she told me, like, okay, I'm going to give you, want you to sew a pajama for my father. And my father said, okay, when are you going to sew this? I said, tomorrow. And he said, there goes my pajama. You never sew my pajama. So I said, I'm so sorry. So I went out to the store and get him a nice pajama for him. And he said, this is not what you did. He said, I want you to sew for me. I said, I'm so sorry, Dad. I just forget about it. And I don't. But then my mother said, well, she sewed a dress for me. So it's good for me. But then she said, like, I like doing her for the dresses and everything. So my mother is always there for me. She's always helping me. She always, whenever my father do something, she always said, okay, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. And then one day, we have a big clock, kitchen clock. And everybody said that we want to change the clock. My father said, no, I don't want to change the clock because it's still working. But it's an ugly-looking clock. So my mother said, oh, we'll buy one, and don't tell anybody. So don't tell your father. So we buy the clock, a new clock in the kitchen. And then my father said, oh, when do you have that clock? And what happened to the old clock? So we don't know. So he wrote to my sister, we don't know, to my mother. So everybody said, we don't know. So he said, that means the clock is in the garbage. So I really want to remember my mother. My mother passed away when I was 13 years old, and I still remember her. So if you have a mother, please, please remember her and love her and give her everything that you need, because you only got one mother. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucy. I guess we won't be honoring your father next month on Father's Day then. Thank you very much, Lucy. All right, third is Xian Hui. If not, I guess maybe we have to put Rachel later on. All right. Joan, is somebody there who can time for you, please? We'll let Rachel wait a minute, although I see some movement. Wait a minute, I see movement. Okay. Thank you, Rachel. I didn't know whether you wanted to wait and do yours later. Okay.
Well, good morning.
Good morning to
morning.
you. Can I announce you now?
Absolutely.
Okay, I don't know who's in there, but I hope, oh, you're still on. Okay, very good. Our next, I got to give you your title because it's yours for another month. Club Growth Director, Rachel Weiss, Distinguished Toastmaster. You're doing speech number 3 from the Inform, Speaking to Inform Advanced Manual. This is the demonstration talk. You certainly are demonstrating your extra skills in that control room today, and I appreciate it. I gave you a full 6 minutes, Lucy. You're her evaluator. I hope you have her manual.
All right.
If-
Just
No.
do a
all
general
right, just wait.
evaluation.
General evaluation. Okay. And your title is How to Toss It Easily. Let's all welcome Rachel Weiss.
Thank you, Fran. All right. All of us have had an opportunity where we needed to toss a line, a power cord, a sheet if you're in sailing, which is like a rope. And there's a proper way and a not so good way of wrapping that so it's easy to toss. I'm going to demonstrate that to you right now. So if camera 3 could just zoom out a little bit, you'll see me toss the line. So right now I have a line in my hand. I've got my thumb holding one end so I don't throw the whole thing at camera 3. And this is the way it's not supposed to be wound. Actually, that went pretty well. So the way it's not supposed to be wound is taking the wire and just wrapping it around itself. You can see as I'm wrapping it, it kind of has a memory of a twist and a turn. And as a result, when you toss it, it's not going to go as far. When it's tossed correctly, one is clockwise, the next one goes counterclockwise. Then it goes clockwise, and then I'm taking my index finger and my thumb and twisting it. Can you see that twist? And that's how I then get it to go counterclockwise. And then clockwise, and then counterclockwise. And clockwise, and counterclockwise. And now, again, I'm holding the end, and if I toss it, it's going to go all the way out to the camera. So there's a difference, and everyone kind of says, okay, well, let me just wind it up on my arm, right, to do it quickly. Well, that's all clockwise, 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 clockwise. Then when you toss it, it may not even go. Right? So that's my tip for you. If we're on a sailboat and someone goes overboard, you want to be able to toss them a line with a life preserver on it so that they can be recovered. If someone is needing to get a power cord, or like this is a microphone cable, you want to be able to do that. So it's just a little bit of a practice of twisting using that thumb and that index finger and twisting it so it goes counterclockwise and clockwise and counterclockwise and clockwise, and then making sure I hold the end. When I toss it, it goes all the way. It's something that I learned when I was in elementary school, so it's not difficult to learn because I was part of the audiovisual team. And this is what they taught us to wind up the microphone cables. Back then, we didn't have the wireless microphones that we have today. And in our studio here, everything is wired. And so when you do it that way, the memory isn't put into the cord. Many times you've seen cords, and the cords have all these little twists in them. That's because they've always been turned clockwise, clockwise, clockwise around someone's arm. And if it's done, again, correctly, when you hold the end and toss it, right? That's the incorrect way, right? Because I just showed you wrapping it on my arm. If we wrap it the correct way, all that memory and all those twists, because the one twist cancels out the other. And you can see it's a ball at the end because of all those twists in one direction. So we untwist everything. And now, when I toss it, it goes the full length. So that's my how to toss it.
Wow, and here I thought you were cleaning your apartment out. That is something.
Wow. I like that.
So I thought that was something a little bit different to give you a demonstration here on cable TV.
A very brief question. How
Certainly.
long a cord can you do and still do the demonstration? At a certain point, does it just come back to bite you, or?
Actually not. It all comes back to how much energy you put in when you toss the line. But I've tossed lines that are 50 feet, 100 feet.
Wow.
And because there's no resistance, because you don't have all those extra twists in there, it does go much further and doesn't take as much energy.
Very good, Rachel.
And that's one of the things I wanted to show you, because we're getting into the summertime. People are wanting to maybe toss a clothesline, toss a line for one of the games for the kids in the park, maybe going to take a sailing course, and you want to be able to toss that line onto the dock so they can tie you up. Not tie you up, tie the ship up or the boat. And yes, if someone does fall overboard, to be able to toss them a safety line or rescue line so that they can be brought back into safety.
So you'd recommend everybody have a length of rope in their trunk of their car?
I have yes, I do. You never know when it could come in handy.
Sure.
During the wintertime, working with the Office of Emergency Management, we'd have to throw a line out to someone that was walking on the ice that fell through
Well, I'm thinking
to
of
be
the
able
boys,
to pull them back.
Yeah, the 3 sets of boys in Central Park thought they could walk on the ice, and they ended up needing
Right.
someone with a rope.
So
Very important.
very important. And it's not a difficult skill, but it does take a little bit of practice.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Very nice. It's not what I thought you were going to speak about at all. Thank you very much, Rachel. All right. And now I hope we have another timer, because we're going to ask Joan Maurizio to come up. Joan is working on another icebreaker, starting another Confident Communicator. This is the first speech in the basic manual. Oh, you're up here already. Wow, it didn't take you long to get there. All right.
That was very nice of him.
Joan, I gave you 6 minutes for this, and Paul Sharp is going to be your evaluator. And your title in honor of Mother's Day is Mom. Wow. Let's all welcome Joan Maurizio.
There it is. Mom, upside down, is wow. Hence the title of my speech. And I just want to bring back memories of what it's like to have Mom around. And it's always, always a pleasure. Even when things go wrong and it's not quite such a happy day, it's still nice being in the company of Mom. It's still a comfort. Even when things do go wrong, Mom's always a comfort. One of the things I like to do is buy my mother silly stuff. And I told her, I said, if you don't even feel like speaking, but you would like to talk to me and call me, you want me to call you back, just put one of these on the line. It's a tiger. I've got one and she's got one. And he roars. And once I hear that, I know my mom called. She doesn't have to say a thing. I call up this, hey, what's happening? So that's our signal. Another thing is, all the times I remember we used to go to the mall. That was before 9/11 happened. But it was interesting because we didn't have to buy things or spend a lot of money. Just window shopping was fun. Comparing things, comparing notes, looking at things, your opinion, my opinion. It was great. I'll never forget the time, though, she needed something, and we went to Wallbaum's to take something home. The two gals, two cashiers, cross-talking with each other, and every person online, we can remember the last three people that left, they had something to say about them. One, they would say, oh, look at that one. She could use to lose a few pounds. And on another one, she'd say, oh, did you see her colors? They don't match at all. And it was going on and on and on. And when we finally got up to the counter, I said, Mom, I wonder what they're going to say when we are done. So right away, they shut up. They stopped talking about that last gal. And I really don't care what they said behind my back because they're not brave enough to say it to our face. I remember when I had a dog, and Mom used to come over, and this dog grew to love her. This dog knew, Abby knew when Mom was coming in, and she knew there was either a burger without anything extra, just a burger in the bun, or there was going to be yellow cake. We'd buy the cake, the frosting, cut out the yellow cake very neatly, and as we're eating our part of the cake, the other half, we'd toss her one, and she'd catch it midair. It was entertainment for my mom and I. So that was a lot of fun. The sad part was when she used to leave. She would leave the house, and we could hear the dog lunging at the door and crying, "Ah, come back, come back." And she only did that for my mom and two other friends. That's how special some people were to her. Another thing was when my dad passed away. I remember she was quite alone. There were no relatives left. My dad died at a very old age. And she always thanked me for being there because nobody else in the family could be there for her. My sister was too far away. She couldn't be. I was there 24/7. If you want me, I'm there from morning till night. So she was happy for that. And another thing was, I just went through what she went through at the end of last year. My mom is 88 years old, and in the winter, when she had appointments with her doctor, had to go to the outside 4 blocks away in all that cold, worrying about ice and snow, to call somebody. And why? Not going to mention the company, but everything was going fiber optics. And they told her, look, you either have to get it or we're going to shut your phone off. And she didn't believe it. And they never sent her the letter. I got a letter, and then I got a second letter. And I got the second letter. I called a week early. And I said, well, I remember what happened to Mom, so I'm making my appointment a whole week before I have to. And they were very happy for that. But my mom, because she didn't make the appointment, they never gave her an emergency phone. She had no phone. I wasn't able to reach her. I thought she was in the hospital. I mean, what a scare that company put into us. It's not just me. It's my sister, too, that gets quite frightened. I have to say something, though. At 88 years old and only 5'1" in stature, she may as well be a giant from the Jolly Green Giants kin. She's very active. She does her own shopping. She goes to the library. She doesn't bring 3 or 4 books, not even 6. She'll take out 10 books, and sometimes she'll read the more interesting ones over again before the 2 or 3 weeks is up. In bad weather, she just calls them and renews them, and she reads something else. She goes to the doctor on her own. She gets her prescriptions on her own. She gets her eyeglasses on her own. Never wants me to go over the bridge and be paying a double fare. So she's very independent. And I tell you, I appreciate my mom. I think she's one of the best people in the world. But then again, I think you hope your mom is great too. So, Mom turns into wow.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much. All right. For all the mothers in the world, they all hope they have a mother like you. Thank you. And our final speaker today is a newcomer to our show. His name is Manny Saxon. He's a member of our Business Leaders Toastmasters Club. And Manny, I'll give you a second to set up. Manny is doing his second speech to organize his speech. He has 5 minutes. His evaluator is Joan Maurizio. And the title is, okay, Manny, The Fine Art of Sailing. Let's all welcome Manny Sax.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, distinguished Toastmasters, and fellow guests and fellow Toastmasters. I love sailing. I was inspired by sailing by John Kennedy, this is a replica of his boat that is currently on exhibit at the John Kennedy Library, Hyannisport. It's called the Victoria, and he purchased it at the ripe old age of 15. The price of this boat then in 1932, well, God, it couldn't have been that much, but in today's dollars, it's a lot. However, Victoria is Latin, and it simply means she who is about to conquer. And that's one thing about when you go out to the sea sailing. It's a 26-foot gaff rig sloop. It's gaff rigged because it's a rectangular type or a trapezoid type of a sail as opposed to a Bermudian sail, which is the standard sail of the boat. So I've been inspired by John Kennedy as well as had throughout my life additional inspirations to serve my country as well. So I'm going to talk to you about the fine art of sailing. The fine art of sailing. Is the fine art of sailing the act of getting wet, becoming ill, and while slowly going nowhere at great expense? Absolutely not. Sailing is fun, it's easy to learn, and it's not as expensive as you think. It's fun. You're out on a day sail with friends. You enjoy the good weather. You get a suntan. You relax. You take a day sail to different destinations, especially in the metropolitan area. You can sail Long Island Sound from Great Neck to Stamford, Connecticut, or further, Oyster Bay and whatnot. It's just phenomenal. Or you can sail the world, or as I did a few years ago, sail the Caribbean with a local sailing club. It was 10 days of pure bliss on the water, and the turquoise waters that you hear about, the wind was phenomenal. I wouldn't do it or have it any other way. So sailing is easy. There's nothing to it. All you really have to do is know the direction of the wind and how to maneuver around it. Yes, you can do like this and you know where the wind is, but you have to learn to read the signs of the wind, which is very easy. You look at the current, you look at the weather forecast, you look around you, how the wind is blowing. And you can either sail upwind or you can sail downwind. It depends on your destination. Let's say if we wanted to sail from Great Kills Park in Staten Island to Coney Island. Well, which way is the wind going? Well, what's the weather forecast say? Let's look on the water. Let's see how the flagpoles are waving. Well, if the wind is coming from behind us, the wind is going to push us out into lower New York Harbor. There's one thing I have to tell you. You can't sail directly into the wind. Physically impossible. I'm not going to go into the specifics about it, but you can read up on it on your own. You can't sail directly into the wind. What you can do is if you sail directly into the wind, the boat stops dead, literally. It's a good time to rest, chill out, rethink what you're going, where you're doing, where you're going, and what your next step is. So how do I get from point A to point B if the wind is coming at me? Well, like they say, sailors don't know which direction they're going in. They're always zigzagging. Well, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, that zigzagging is simply called tacking or changing course, because every time you sort of run out of wind, you have to turn the boat onto a new course. And the way to sail a new course, when you're sailing upwind, you have to tack. And that's changing the sails from one side of the boat to the other side of the boat. So that's how we get from Staten Island, Great Kills Park, to Coney Island. Then, if you're sailing, the wind is pushing you, and you're sailing downwind, well, there's going to get to a point where the wind is going to change. When you get beyond Staten Island and into New York Harbor, you have a confluence of winds and currents and all that, and what happens is you need to change course. When you're sailing downwind, the procedure is a little different. It's jibing. It's taking the stern of the boat through the eye of the wind, whereas in tacking and sailing upwind, you're taking the bow of the boat through the eye of the wind. So in sailing downwind, you're going to make sort of an S turn as opposed to the zigzag. So eventually, we'll get to our destination. But one other important thing about sailing is it's helpful to have a chart. Some people still use paper charts in this day and age of electronics, and some use the electronics, the plot charter, or the computer. Well, frankly, what happens if the computer goes down? There was one time we had to run over to the local West Marine and get a battery, a little AA battery, so that we can have the GPS charged up and make sure, even though we knew where we were going to sail, we knew how far we wanted the backup of the GPS. So you use the chart, you plot a course. Of course, you're going to change it when the wind change. So sailing is not as expensive as you thought. What do you mean? Don't look at the yachts. Stay away from the clubs. These are large boats. Can you afford several $100,000 for a boat? I know I can't. The long and short of it is, there are clubs out there, and a club that I've been with and teach sailing at, you can learn to sail for as little as $300 for 6 lessons. And it's easy, as I just basically described to you, how to sail upwind and downwind. You'll also learn about crew overboard, tossing a line, and learning knots. And it's a lot of fun. You meet people, you have fun, and that's the fine art of sailing in a nutshell. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Manny. Isn't it nice that that fed right into Rachel's speech?
Yeah, the toasting.
Rachel, can I toss your line?
See, in Toastmasters, we always learn from each other.
Yeah.
There's always something that you
There's
can take home
something.
with you. All right, now we're
I
going
will
into the
always remember
evaluation
the
part of the
toasting.
meeting. And my evaluation was done by Ken Raftery. And Ken, I don't know how much time we have left, but you're in 2 clubs on Staten Island, this club, No Limits, and Smedley's the Advanced Club. So do you remember how many years you've been in Toastmasters?
Yes, 23.
Wow. You were in diapers when you came, I guess, right? Okay, Ken, let's see what you thought about my opening speech. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Fran. Well, as we know from your speech, I had to have been at least 18, let's put it that way.
Point well
Yes.
taken. Thank you.
So one of the nice things about this show is we don't have commercial interruptions. However, Fran's speech was essentially a commercial to encourage people to join Toastmasters. And I think that she's an excellent spokesperson because who better to speak on behalf of the club than her, because she's been in it for so long. And what I liked about the speech is she was very encouraging. I've always found her to be encouraging. It certainly came across in the speech. I don't think anyone would be intimidated. She certainly came across as supportive. And as she said, the clubs do need more members. So hopefully someone at home was convinced through her speech that joining would be the right thing. And a lot of us have seen people improve. Some people come in very intimidated, fearful, but they really, in a few months, they're like different people, confident, and it really does work. An interesting story, I've told this story in Toastmasters. I'm actually a WWE fan, and this is a fact. A former woman wrestler from the 80s, Wendy Richter, she joined Toastmasters because she was being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and she wanted a forum to practice speaking in public. So if it worked for her, it could work for you. It works for a lot of us, and I hope you take the advice from Fran's speech and join our club.
Oh, you're just like me because we both like cats. Yeah. Thank you, Ken. Very, very well done. You always get your women wrestlers into everything. But that's he's the only one on Staten Island that I know has that penchant for female wrestlers.
Wow.
Yes, and he goes out of his way to go and meet with them when they're on tour and things. But anyway. All right, Kevin, you're evaluating Lucy's speech. Now, I know you had a mother because we all start. We all know that that's where you came from. So,
And contrary to popular belief, that mother was not you,
was what?
was not Fran.
No, but last month you said I was your mother, which I figured, well,
Well, I treat you as I would my mother because you are just that sweet.
Geez, and I didn't even have to pay for that today. That's a commercial announcement. Thank you, Ken. You said there were Kevin, that's why I took that beautiful picture of you over here, so I could kiss you goodnight every night.
Oh,
we have to stop this like this. All right, why don't you tell Lucy what you thought about her speech
Every
about her
night.
mother? Yeah, we could go on for hours, you know that.
for the entire day. For the entire day.
Someday we'll have to try that, and just see how
Yeah,
long
yeah.
we can both keep talking.
Peter fall asleep. That's how
Well, we'll
long
have to
it'll
go
be.
someplace else. We'll go down by the beach.
Okay, that sounds good. She's going to
You
take me
can
by
bring
the
your-
water,
you can
and
bring
I'll
your
take her to
wife, though.
lunch. That'll be great.
He'll take
And
Manny
toss
to
me a
take us
line,
there.
right?
That's a line.
Fran is always tossing me a line. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, and of course our TV audience, and last but certainly not least, Miss Lucy. I loved your speech, Lucy. In fact, I love every time that you speak because if nothing else, it is entertaining and it's a lot of fun. I know that everybody that heard the speech enjoyed it just as much as I did. And her speech title was My Mother Maria, but it could have alternatively have been How to Trick Your Father. You know, because throughout the entire speech, she was talking about, oh, well, Dad said no, and I did yes. And Dad said no, and I did the other thing. So how to trick your father. And you know, I think that this is interesting, and I'd love to hear Lucy's speeches because they always, it's like a soap opera. So she tells a story, but there's always room to go to the next step. And so what I'd like to hear in terms of a follow-up speech, because we know that Lucy is a mother, and also a grandmother. And I want to know, did she take those things that her mother did with her and do them with her daughter against her daughter's father and treat her daughter's father the same way? And so is this a lineage thing that happens in Lucy's family? I don't know. But it would be worth the opportunity and the time to hear what Lucy had to say, especially because this is the month of Mother's Day. Thank you so much, Lucy. I enjoyed your speech and look forward to many more.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, Kevin. Let me know if you want to do a follow-up next
follow-up
month. Yeah, send me the stuff so I can put you down for it. Follow-up, the father's version.
Father's version.
Oh, that was a very good suggestion, Lucy.
Yeah.
All right, Lucy, you evaluated.
Yeah,
we've been
Robert.
playing on Rachel's speech all
Right.
through this, so why don't
Yeah.
you tell Rachel what you thought about her tossing it?
Okay.
Okay.
Fellow Toastmaster, guests, and viewing audience, and especially Rachel. Rachel, I like your speech. I like the way you demonstrate how to toast the right way and how to toast the wrong way. And I love the way because everybody will remember how to toast the right way because you keep on telling him how to do it. You have a great body gesture. Humor. You also added humor on your speech, and you talk about your early experience, which is very nice because I just think that you did this many years ago, but with us, I don't know how to toast the line the right way. So now I know how to do them. So it's great when you're also great in responding to questions. So I think all in all, it was really nice, and I want to hear more of your demonstration in another time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And you and Richard are going to now carry a
Yeah.
rope in your car, correct?
All right, but now already, we'll finish.
No. I said now you're going to have a rope in your car.
Yeah,
You've learned to
above
do
the
that.
rope, yeah, the car, yeah,
and
right.
you can write that in her book when you get her book later, or just
Yeah,
give
yeah.
her that note, okay?
Okay.
All right. Paul, you're evaluating, let's see, Joan's speech about her mother, and why don't you start and then stay in the room because you have the first table topic question, okay?
Thank you very much.
So this is Paul Scharf, who was our first District 83 governor back in the day, 2008, when the district split, and he's one of our strong points of go back to for information for all the time, correct?
Thank you very much.
All right.
Joan, Mom, wow. The first thing I liked about your presentation was the way you presented it with the sign, the Mom and the wow. That was the best part, almost the best part of it. Interesting story about the people talking in line. And I really liked the way you presented your whole story about Mom. You were very comfortable in your presentation, very comfortable in presenting the different events, the different things that had happened. There is one thing that I would like to suggest, and that is to slow down. Slow down. You talk and you don't hesitate between sentences, and you should slow down just a little bit. Other than that, the presentation was great, and I liked the title. I liked the Mom Wow. and I like the story about your mom and the stories that you gave within the presentation. Thank you very much, and I look forward to future presentations.
Good, and they'll be there for you. Thank you, Paul. Don't go too far. One more, and then you can come up for your question, okay? All right, and then we have Joan evaluating Manny's speech about sailing. And you're so inspired, Joan, you're going to spend your Social Security check on a sailboat, correct?
I totally forgot. I'm sorry. But I didn't forget to fill it out. Fellow Toastmasters, viewing audience, the audience at home. Wow, what a speech. I think we should all get out there in the boat, whether we can swim or not. We'll call them in an emergency. I gave 5s on all of these. I underscored them. But there's something that really got my attention, and that was your opening. They asked, was it attention-getting, and did it lead into the topic? Of course it did. He had so many great facts before the actual subject of the speech. So I didn't get to fill this in, but I promise you I will. I can't think of anything that you could do to improve or make the speech more effective. But what did I like about the presentation? I'm not one for the water. I'm a Pisces. I should love water. But unfortunately, I don't. The last time I was on a fishing trip was probably 20 years ago with my husband, and I got seasick in the ladies' men's room. So what did I like about the presentation? You've always almost talked me into it. That's how effective the speech was. It was very, very good. It was very well handled. And the gestures especially added so much. I don't think anybody else could have done better.
Thank you very much,
you.
Joan. Okay, and now we're going into our table topic segment. We do this at almost every Toastmasters meeting, where someone has the job as table topic master, comes up and has a question for each member in the group, and they have to answer it in 1 to 2 minutes. On TV, we do 1 minute only. So, Paul, here is your question. If you were elected POTUS, President of the United States, what would your code name be? And this is a question from my son, Peter. He thought you'd like it. Let's see, Paul Scharf.
Would you please repeat the question?
Sure. The nickname for the President of the United States is POTUS. We all know that, all right? And Peter thought it would be cute to ask somebody, and we chose you, if you were elected POTUS, President of the United States, that's his code name, what would you tell everyone about your code name, so your Secret Service wouldn't have to say, where is President? They'd say, where is Fluffy? Then they'd know it was you. I just came up with that, not that you're fluffy at all. You're very... I don't know. I don't even have a cat named Fluffy.
A very simple answer.
Go ahead.
Boss.
What? Wait a minute. Why don't you look at the camera, and what was your answer?
My answer is boss.
That means what?
Where's the boss?
Why are you looking at me when you're supposed to be
It
looking at the
means
camera?
boss. It means boss. It means where is the boss?
Okay.
And that's what I would like to be called, because as president, you should be the boss of the country. You should be the boss of what's going on. And a boss, if a boss is good, then a boss is a good leader. And that's what I would like to be called.
Okay, boss.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. See, and we elected you in 2008 to be the boss of District 83. Right, Rachel?
Right.
And after next year, serving as the second in command, you'll be the boss of District 83 the following year. Anyway, Rachel. Oh, I have a nice question for you.
Yes.
Yeah, but after tossing that rope, I have to look out. She may strangle somebody. She doesn't like them. She doesn't even have to be in the room with them. She could get her rope to go around corners, and she'll get so...
Your lariat.
Lariat, yes. You know, you've caused more trouble at the end of this show just by your speech, maybe because it was so different. I don't know. Rachel, if you had a library in your home, how would you arrange the books on your shelves? In alphabetical order by author, by genre, by size, or some other way? Rachel Weiss.
Thank you, Fran. At one time, I did have a library, and going through what we call middle school in New Jersey, it was junior high school here in New York, and then in high school, I was a librarian, a librarian's assistant. And so I am very familiar with the card catalog and codexing all of the books. And when I had my library, that's how I did it. But then I grew a little bit older and maybe a little bit wiser. I went out and I started putting it by genre. and I put it in a genre order based on my favorite authors. And that way, the books that were at eye level were the ones that were inspirational to me, the ones that were going to be the ones that would be challenging me to step out of my comfort zone and to go beyond. Those that had wealths of knowledge I had down low, because those were probably thicker and heavier books. And that's how I would set up my library.
Thank you. Very,
Thank
very
you.
nicely done. Very, very good. All right, and let's see.
Kevin.
Oh, Kevin, oh, you're taking Isaac's place. He didn't show up at all?
No.
Oh, I hope he's all right. All right, this I got because I saw this happen on Family Feud, which I like. All right, so I stole it for this show. If you were a doctor, what kind of doctor would you not want to be? Kevin Thompson.
Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, our table topic master Fran. If I was a doctor, what type of doctor would I not want to be? One that's poor. Because as a doctor, and I'm thinking that she is referring to a physician, but not necessarily, because a doctor of philosophy is still a doctor. And there are many great professions that are not medical that a doctor of philosophy could be. And since I do not have a medical degree, I could be a doctor of philosophy. But I'd rather be a doctor of philosophy with wealth than a doctor of philosophy without. Because with wealth, it would provide me the opportunity where I could help others. And what I'd like to do is to help others understand who they are, how they can be better themselves, and how they can help others.
Very nice field. I appreciate that. And Joan Maurizio. Come on, get with those roller skates going, Joan. I'll start talking while you're coming from the dark in the back. I told you the other day I had a nice question for you. So there's no tricks in it, just a very nice question for you. If you owned your own bakery, what would be your signature creation that would bring people from all over to your shop? Joan Maurizio.
I think the big thing today is people are worried about what's going into the food. So I don't know how good it would taste or what else would entice them except for the fact that I try to make it organic and non-genetically modified. None of those crazy ingredients that have been added that you don't know what they're going to do to your digestive system 10 years down the line. But anyway, that's what I try to do, make it as natural and as organic as possible, because more and more people are becoming very, very aware that our food is being messed with. Stop messing with our baked goods.
Thank you very much, John. Paul Paradise, now you have the last question. Unless someone back there would like to come up and answer a question, we have 4 minutes left.
Okay.
Paul, after your speech about electric cars last month, and I told you out in the lobby today, when I watch my Channel 7 news at night,
Yes.
and I flip over to 34 to see if we're on, because I understand we're on every Saturday at 7 o'clock.
Yes.
All right, but we're on 12 times a month at various times. Inevitably, after this 11 o'clock news, I flip to 34, and there's right in the middle of your speech at the last meeting. And I figured, I have to have somebody else be in that spot, so I see somebody else for a while. But every time I go, there's Paul again, there's Paul again. So that's the reason I gave you this question.
Okay.
After your speech about the electric cars last month, do you think the time will ever come when people will commute to work in hot air balloons? Paul Paradise.
Well, that's quite the question. Hot air balloons are certainly becoming more popular. I think that's something that Elon Musk, who is actually popularized electric cars, would actually entertain that idea. And who knows? They may become very, very popular someday. I was hoping you would ask the first question, which was, if I was president, what would my code name be? Because of my last name, which is Paradise. And I would certainly choose that as my code name. So I can imagine the Secret Service going, "Where is Paradise?" And I would say, "He's right here." We're going to Paradise. And that would be the tip-off. That's where the country needs to go, and that's where the world needs to go. Thank you very much.
What a clever segue.
Wow.
Aye, that was beautiful, Paul.
That is nice,
Thanks,
very
Fran.
nice.
Thank you very, very much. All right, is anyone there gambling enough? All right. Manny, would you like to take anyone's question and come up and give a very quick 1-minute answer? Sure. I'm watching the time very closely, but whichever question you'd like. And just address the camera.
I don't remember all of those questions.
All right. All right. Rachel, all right, do you have a bookshelf at home?
Yeah, I have. My favorite arrangement for my bookshelf, and I have quite a few books, but I've collected over the years, is by genre. My greatest interests are Vietnam. I'm a Vietnam vet. I've read about World War II. I've been to Normandy, and prior to going to Normandy, France, I read up extensively on both sides of what happened on the German side and on the American side. The flip side is of books I have are on the Holocaust. My family are Holocaust survivors, and I do a lot of Holocaust research, so I have a section of Holocaust, and being of the Jewish faith, I have a section on Judaica. I have a section on novels, and my favorite novels run the gamut about dogs, from the show that's on TV now, The Purpose of a Dog. We have a little Yorkshire Terrier that we toss between our daughter and our home, and we love her to death. So everything is set up by genre. I love photography. I love sailing. So I have endless bookcases throughout the house filled with books of great interest and that are organized by genre.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So our next show will start in a little while. For anyone who's watching us, this first show, which is a regular monthly meeting, will be aired for the next 2 Saturdays. Then the show that we're doing this afternoon will air the following 2 Saturdays, but each show is on about 12 times a month. Our next show, just to give the people who are watching this show, George Hopkins, who is a local Staten Island author, will be my guest, and he's going to talk about his 6th novel, and it concerns mystery stories, and it's about a Catholic priest and a police detective.
Wow.
And it all takes place at the police station about 2 blocks away from my house, the 123rd Precinct, and that's the end of the show for today. All right, that's it, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay?
4, 3.
Was-